Hey, this is Albert with Mill Creek Overland and the Rally Rats crew. I wanted to do something a little bit different today. Don't normally do these type of instructional videos, but I thought this is one that's pretty good to go over. I haven't seen anything out there like this in the past. So obviously at Mill Creek Overland we do a lot of lift kits on all kinds of trucks, but especially independent front suspension trucks. And one of the biggest questions that I get from our customers constantly whenever we're talking about lift kits and specking out stuff for a customer's vehicle is what is the benefit of an upper control arm? Why do I need an aftermarket upper control arm when I'm lifting my truck? And so I just wanted to go over some of those things today and kind of show you all some of the reasons why, and make what I talk about on a daily basis sort of live and a little bit easier to visualize. A lot of time when I talk to people about caster angles and camber and that sort of thing, I see people kind of just their eyes gloss over and they kind of get lost in space. I just totally lose people, but this will hopefully make a little bit more sense whenever we talk about it here. So this behind me is a 5th gen 4Runner. I think it's like a 2018 TRD off-road. Pretty rad truck. On it, just a little bit about it, we're running like 2.5, 3 inches of lift on a Icon suspension, and then in the front for the upper control arms we've installed the Blackhawk 4x4 upper control arms. It's a rad product. There's a lot of benefits to it. I'll get into that here in a moment, but we have it set up here so that way we can kind of visualize what's going on here and kind of show you all the reasons why all of this is important. And so really what it comes down to is caster angle. And so what is caster angle, right? Caster angle is one of the main angles in the front end of a vehicle, or in the geometry of the front end of the vehicle. And what it relates to is steering angle. So there are 3 things that you adjust normally whenever you're doing an alignment. There's toe, which is how the wheels are pointed in or out. There's camber, which is if you're to take the tops of the tires and tip them in or out. And then there's caster angle. Caster angle, again, is steering angle. And the way that I always tell people to visualize this is if you think about a motorcycle, right? So like on a Harley Davidson, the wheel is way out in front of you and you're leaned back, and the bike is very stable when you're going down the road. So at interstate speeds you can just let off of the handlebars and the bike will just keep going forever. On a sport bike though, the wheel is almost underneath you, and so the front forks are very steep, and what that means is that the bike is very agile. It turns very quickly. Well, the same thing applies to your 4-wheeled vehicles, cars and trucks. And so what happens here is that we're modifying that steering angle with the aftermarket upper control arm. And so behind me here I have kind of a representation set up, and this line here is just showing vertical. We've just got a weight on the bottom of it, and then we've got the Blackhawk upper control arm mounted up here without any suspension in here, so that way I can move this freely and show you all what's going on. And the reason that this all happens, just so you know, is that whenever you have the upper control arm mounted in here, it's mounted at an angle. It's not mounted parallel to the ground. So as the suspension moves in the front end, this doesn't move straight up and down. It moves forwards and backwards. So if my thumb were the upper control arm there, it moves forward and then backwards. The problem is that a factory suspension isn't set up to accommodate that. And whenever we increase the static ride height of our vehicle, it then moves the mounting point of this upper ball joint relative to the lower ball joint, okay? And I know it's kind of a lot there, but let me grab a paint pen. We'll make a line here and we'll kind of show you what's going on. And this is a bit exaggerated, right? So your truck probably wouldn't ever be this compressed unless you were going over a jump or landing off a jump or something like that. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to draw a line from this point, and my best sort of impression of vertical, and this point down, right? And we'll do that one through the middle. That way it's kind of easy to visualize what's going on here. So this would be, you know, if your vehicle was at stock ride height. What happens is we don't keep our stuff stock. We lift the ride height of our vehicles. When we do that, you can see there that the line moved forward. As the ball joint comes down, it moves forward because it's mounted at a bit of an angle. And so what that does is that steepens your steering angle, and it makes it very unstable whenever you're driving down the road and you either hit a pothole and the wheel moves even further away from the vehicle, or you hit a bump and it creates what's called bump steer, right? So that's that unstable feeling that you get in a lifted truck whenever you omit an aftermarket component like the upper control arm there. It creates, well, this really uncomfortable feeling on the road. So these upper control arms have 3 degrees of added caster in them from the factory. They're set up basically for the kind of lifts that we're running and for the kind of look that people are always wanting on these trucks. I have here a factory upper control arm, and I'll just put it up here, and it's kind of a good representation of what the factory geometry is set at versus the Blackhawk. And as you can see there, this is even further forward than this one, if they were mounted in the same spot. And so that is a representation of the caster angle. I just haven't seen anybody else do it that way, and it makes so much more sense to me when I think about it this way. Whenever you have a vertical line, you see it kind of roll forward, and that's exactly what you do whenever you lift your truck. So hopefully this makes caster angle live and gives you a little bit more understanding about why it's so important whenever you lift your truck to do this. You don't want to ruin your ride and put nice shocks and coilovers and do all this other stuff to your truck and then skip out on something like this. They're not that expensive, you know. You're looking at an MSRP of about $795, but we usually can get these for less expensive than that. These in particular are a fantastic product, the Blackhawks. I like them because they use an original equipment style rubber bushing at the mounting point, so it doesn't transfer a lot of noise, vehicle harshness. NVH is what it's called. Basically small road imperfections and vibrations. It doesn't transfer it into the chassis of the vehicle. A lot of other upper control arms, they're not bad, but what they'll use is a polyurethane bushing up here because it's easier to do. But the stiffness of polyurethane is a lot more than the rubber bushing that's used here and then what's used on a factory upper control arm, and that's why. And then here out at the ball joint, this uses a completely sealed high angle ball joint. I prefer this because it is, again, sealed versus some of the uniball setups. Uniballs are great, they're super strong, but you can get dirt, mud, all kinds of things inside of that joint, and it'll sacrifice the overall longevity of the joint. So this is a really cool setup. Obviously it's tubular versus these stamped steel factory ones that are really kind of cheaply made. You know, Toyota put these together just to serve their function, and you know, they were as strong as they needed to be, but obviously we're doing a lot more with these trucks than Toyota ever intended. So anyway, I hope that helps. I hope that makes this whole discussion about caster angle sort of live and helps you visualize exactly what we're talking about here. If you got any questions, you can give us a call at Mill Creek Overland or hit us up on the website. If you're looking for Blackhawk upper control arms, we've got them. Got a ton of these in stock ready to roll. Appreciate it. See ya.